informative, educational, objective, inclusive, comprehensive. This is Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service. My name is Ivan Khanna, my lovely co-host, Ms. Gleneva Hodge, and we have a bit of royalty in the building today, if I may say so myself. The Honorable Parliamentary Secretary, Mrs. Quincy Gums Marie. I say royalty because she wears so much hats. From time to time. She's laughing, but if you know anything about the Ministry of Tourism and the Minister for Tourism, he's very demanding. And then you also function in the Ministry of Economic Development as well. So you wear a lot of hats, so I'm not lying.
Yeah, I do wear a lot of hats.
All
yes.
right. So
IT, natural resources, economic development, tourism. All things
that we are going to get into here today.
Yes.
On this episode of Progress Report. So welcome.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gums Marie. I'm going to try and remember, it's one thing when you are colleagues and friends outside of, I think I let it slip when we had the Honorable Minister Kyle Hodge. And, I'm going to remember that we are in a professional setting. And so you're, Mrs. Gums Marie today.
Paul Secretary.
Okay.
That can work, right?
So I think it works.
Okay, good.
So we are so happy to have you here today, and we're gonna just jump right in.
Yes.
We're gonna cover a wide range of topics. We're going to look at the Bang report.
Yes.
We're going to cover tourism.
Yes.
We're gonna get a little bit into GST and just a bit on how that ties into tourism. Seeing that you're coming out of the Ministry of Economic Development, and maybe, just maybe, a little preview in what's to come in some of our upcoming episodes. So let's try and keep this on time, Ivan.
So allow me to just use this cliche. Let's start with a bang.
There we go. So, Mrs. Gums Marie Paul Sec, tell us a little bit about what inspired the Blue Anguilla Task Force, which is commonly referred to as Bang. Bang? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
So Bang is just short for Blue Anguilla.
Okay.
So not for task force. But I'm happy to report that we have now graduated from task force status to committee status.
Oh, wow.
And now we are recognized regionally. So it's the Blue Anguilla Committee. And we are part of all of the regional committees that each of the islands have set up for the purpose of venturing into the blue economy. So we have grown. And since we've been in the public eye, the Bang position paper has grown into an implementation plan that has actually been passed by the Executive Council and approved. And we are working with partners, in some instances looking for partners.
Okay.
And it really is the perfect document to capture where Anguilla sees itself. If I can go right back to where the Bang came from. When we were elected, we had very strong ideals on what sustainability would look like.
Right.
And we wanted to ensure that if we grow a tourism product, if we grow our manufacturing industry, that the environment is highly considered. And that is why I have the bridge of tourism, economic development, and natural resources.
Okay.
But that's also why we moved natural resources from infrastructure, it was previously attached to infrastructure, to economic development. So as well we move forward with economic development, the natural resources and the sustainability and the biodiversity that exists in Anguilla can be worked with and considered in tandem and also protected. Okay. And then also we moved tourism with infrastructure because we felt that the best way to grow our tourism product is not just primarily through marketing, but also through developing our infrastructure. So
Awesome.
we had those.
So there was a plan.
Okay.
There was a plan,
Okay.
and that is why we would have done it like that. So I am kind of the bridge between that plan, and that's why I span
So,
between
from
two
today,
ministries.
I'm gonna probably call you the bridge.
I
I
mean,
think that's a crazy thing. That just right on a dollar in, dollar in. The bridge. All right.
right. So that's where we're at.
Mhm.
So the bank was really formed from that perspective initially. Going forward, we want to have sustainability at the heart of our development.
Okay.
And the blue economy is something that has been with Anguilla from when it was primarily a subsistence economy, because we've had the fishing villages from the inception of
That
Anguilla.
is
We
true.
know those predominant fishing villages. And then we moved on to tourism, which is highly dependent on coastal tourism.
Right.
And that is also part of the blue economy. So this is not new to Anguilla, but it's formally recognized in what it is. And I always say that language is the first step of activism. So when we can say it as it is and call it as it is, we can then align our development with what it really and truly is. So when we are looking to develop our fisheries, that's in the bang.
Right.
When we're looking to develop our protection of coastal areas and our tourism product, that's in the bang. And also when we're looking to protect our marine resources and venture into training and also exposing our younger persons to how they can actually form proper jobs and careers out of the blue economy,
Right.
that's also there.
Okay,
So
nice.
some of the partners we have fire and rescue, because we want to expand our fisheries. So if we're going to expand our fisheries, we also want to enhance our ability to protect and respond to
Right.
any problems at sea. So
Yes.
they are very much a part of it.
Okay.
We have the ACC, who's working with us to develop how we can incorporate the education part of it into the bank and how we can make those connections with
Okay.
scholarships and partnerships and such. We have in the trade aspects. So then when we do look for future markets and also expand our existing local market, that is for when it comes to fishing, that is also worked into it. And then we also have the infrastructural side, how we develop the infrastructure to support the expansion of the blue economy. So it is a very comprehensive team. And also there's a biodiversity side, because sustainable development is nothing without protecting the environment.
That is true.
And the
That's
blue
one,
economy is focused on the environment. So that is also part of the bank. So it's a very comprehensive, wide-reaching document, and that is really what the purpose of it is, that we develop in a very focused way with a plan that involves not only the government sides but also the other stakeholders, and they are listed there so that we know who we should be going to where and how we do consultations and how we do protection of certain areas. So it's a very comprehensive, long list, but it makes sense.
It's actually fitting now because I'm just jogging my memory and going over the last couple episodes. The Minister for Tourism was here. He talked about where we come from, where we're going. The Minister for Economic Development was here and he spoke about possible relationships in trade with Nevis. Ms. Chantel, the acting deputy director, was here and she spoke about what the product looks like. And now you're here, and I'm actually hearing from what you're saying that all these things are interconnected and interrelated.
Absolutely.
And if we're gonna expand on the other side of it, they are all mutually vulnerable. So your job or the focus of Bang is to make sure that we protect this, what we have, and we grow sustainably, basically is what you're saying.
It is 100% the focus. And what it does also is to put Anguilla's position in paper, and it gives us something to fall back on, so we can say, this is our policy, this is our philosophy. Because right now, we actually, because of the Bang, would have recently joined the Commonwealth Charter, Blue Charter Committees.
Okay.
And they are now working with us for our national ocean governance plans.
Okay.
And so they would have used the Bang to understand Anguilla's position, where we would like to go. And I think it's important.
So I don't want to cut you off, but this didn't exist before?
No.
So all this talk about 200 miles of water and everything, and so we didn't have a plan?
I think what we had is sporadic plans. So we had, maybe like there was a fishing plan, or there was like a protection plan, but we never had everything that brought everything together, something that brought everything together, and also something that also showed where we would like to be in the future. Because we also have waste management in the Bang as well, and so that allows us to understand how we develop and also manage waste. Because if you know that there was the Sandy Ground Marina that was previously high in play, I don't understand how we were moving ahead with that so strongly and we had no marina waste management plans in place.
Sorry?
So these are things
Sorry. No, help me to understand. And I think just for the sake of our guests, those watching and those listening, you're saying we had a lot of talk about a marina in Sandy Ground, but there was no marina waste management plan in place.
Well, I think what the expectation was that the developer would do so. And you can do a framework and ask the developer to meet this framework as a minimum standard. That is normal. But if it is that the government is putting out an RFP, which the previous administration would have done for marinas at the time, you would expect that there's at least a concrete plan of how we're going to manage the waste, how we're going to manage all of these things. So we would have had conversations about it, but nothing really in one place. So what we would do now is to bring it all in one place. So when we speak about development, we also know that these are the other pillars that we need to look at. So I'm not really saying that there was absolutely nothing, but there was nothing in relation to forward planning that I am aware of that we were really relying on. It was kind of, we know that it's something that would have to come. But my position has always been is if we want to get there, we need to know all of the pillars and supporting actors and supporting infrastructure that we would need to actually sustain it.
I mean, and if I can borrow just from conversation with my colleague here, Gleneva, even with dealing with this show, she wants to know, okay, where we're going, who's coming next, because this is where the conversation is.
Right.
And for me, it's about that. I know a lot of people may say, okay, this is not happening, government is not doing this, but things take time.
Absolutely.
And I've gained a new appreciation for that, because coming from the private sector, you have this flexibility.
Right.
But in government, like, so many things are impacted by one decision and one thought. So I understand it to a certain extent. And saying that to say, we have this, we recognize, we're now at the committee stage, we're looking at our growth in our tourism product. We're looking at food security. We're looking at all these things. How close are we to seeing something specific in this bang come forward?
Actually, that was where I was going to go with this in terms of asking specific recommendations, because I know that the position paper spoke about some recommendations. Can you speak a little bit about some of those recommendations, where we are with implementing those recommendations, just to give some insight that this is more than just on paper. How is this being implemented and actioned, not just spoken about?
So that's a really good question. So one of the starting points for the bang was when I would have attended COP26 with my OT colleagues, overseas territorial colleagues, and while we were in Glasgow, I was able to speak to different partners about the bang. And that is where the Commonwealth relationship was built. They were previously working with the bang. It was really interesting because I met Rosemary, who at the time was with the Commonwealth. And I said, I think I'm from Anguilla, and we have a lot of aspirations. She's like, I'm working with Anguilla. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the bang, but I'm working with it. And I was like, of course I'm familiar with the bang. And so we had a nice meeting, and then we just sat down and really spoke about where we would like to go and what we would like to do. And then when the Premier would have come to the UK a week following, we were able then to meet with him and Dorothy, our UK rep. I was sick at the time, so I joined by Zoom. And at the Commonwealth headquarters in the UK, be able to charter Anguilla's way forward with the relationship with the Commonwealth. So these are action things. And what that does now is give us a platform, gives us support throughout the region, so that we are not creating things on our own. We can now reach out to different persons and expertise to develop the things that we need. So we have exposure to legal advisors, help us with our drafting, because a lot of the work that we have to do is update our legislation. It is really dated, and it is not for the future that we have in mind. So unfortunately, things don't, like you said, don't happen overnight. So we have to do the groundwork. So a lot of the first year of bang was really doing the groundwork, doing the necessary audits, and seeing where we're going to go from there. So I have a really exciting project that will happen this year. I'm always afraid. The minister of tourism taught me, he's like, until it's on paper, don't say anything about it.
He gave us absolutely nothing, Ivan. I'm really hoping that we can crack the parsec on something here.
Because I will say, we have a project that's pending as it relates to sustainable transportation. So that's incorporating solar in one of our main transportations on an island. And we are going to work with the international body as well as the FCDO to see how that would look. And
you really didn't give us much policy. Come on, be the bridge. Be the bridge.
But I will say this: it started once it's starting to come together. She is the bridge, and things doesn't seem to just be happening ad hoc, which is a major complaint of mine. When you look at Bang, it takes all of these different pillars and place in together. And if we're speaking to the bridge, one can only assume where we're going. I would have noticed some forward-thinking plans with the road. And we're speaking transportation and how we're pulling this all together. So, I'm looking at Parsec over here, and she's smiling and nodding, and we can probably leave it at that until she's ready to come back.
I'm not saying anything else.
Until she's ready to come back and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, but not saying anything else.
I think it's really exciting. I am very excited about it. It really started off with a conversation. I went to the wrong booth. I was looking for someone else.
That's divine intervention. It's not the wrong booth. I just want to know if I could bring my Tesla on island. That's all I want to know.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Great. And then you can apply to the Ministry of Finance for your duty-free because it's a green vehicle.
Oh, so you get duty-free. Hold on. Time out. You get duty-free on green vehicles.
Yes, you do.
Folks, you get duty-free on green vehicles. So you can get the leaf and you don't got to pay the duties on that. But why is... That's probably my job. But why is this on here?
Do your job, Ivan.
We've brought a couple to the House of Assembly. We've said this repeatedly at the
I know,
House of
I've heard
Assembly.
it before, but I didn't really
you are there
register.
at the Monday.
Yes, it didn't register.
Monday press conferences, and we mentioned that there as well. So I have to
so
wonder.
Again, you bring in everybody that's complaining about the price of duties on vehicles. You bring in a green vehicle, an electric vehicle. What about the hybrids? We'll touch that later. But you bring in a green vehicle, an electric vehicle, and it's duty free.
Yes. That sounds like something for the record, though.
For the record, yeah. I'm loving this. I'm outnumbered today, but I'm loving this.
This is where we go with this sometimes, because when we're looking at the clock, we are
always overtime.
As much as we endeavor to be. However, these conversations are always so riveting, always so informative. And if we can switch gears just a little bit and, like you said, we're speaking to the bridge. So we're going to cross from one end to the next, and we're going to go over to tourism a little bit. What is let's start with the big picture. What is the ministry's outlook? We had Mrs. Chantel Richardson from the ATB, and she came in and she spoke, a little bit of what is the ATB's focus going forward for the rest of this year into 2023. Can you give us a little insight as to what we can expect from the ministry's position on tourism?
So the Ministry of Tourism works very closely with the ATB. I know that, on paper, there's supposed to be almost like an arm's length relationship, but the tourism is our bread and butter. Right. We know that. So it's very difficult to just be like, okay, they're going to do what they're going to do over here, and we're going to do what we do over here. We usually try to meet. We have at least once a month meetings, even if it's an informal one, where we discuss what's next. And for me, we have... Tourism right now is at a place, I don't think that people understand the level of work that went into tourism from 2020 to 2022, over these 2 years. Yeah. What has happened? So we would have launched the Lose the Crowd, Find Yourself campaign very successfully, and really speak about the heart of Anguilla's product, not only in COVID, but all of the time. You have the luxury of space and time, and safety and community. These are all the things that we are known for. So to package it in the Lose the Crowd, Find Yourself campaign, a campaign that the theme "Lose Yourself, find the crowd."
Lose
the crowd, find yourself was done by Ken Roy Hubbard.
Okay.
Someone that I think that you should have on the show as well.
Oh, his time is coming. She's done. She's penciled in there. The questions are there.
He was the one who came up with that, and it was an amazing campaign. And we would have also started the Digital Nomad program.
A lot of money coming from there.
Lots of money coming from that. We would have reached $1 million mark at some point.
Yes.
I have questions.
$1 million easy, let me just say. Mark at some point earlier in the year, with about 400 to 500 persons using it thus far, and we intend to continue as we come out of COVID.
Right.
We're just, finding the right place for it because it was a tourism product, but it's not really one.
That's true.
So we have to just get it the right home. So right now it's a nomad itself, but it's going to get the right home. We have had the introduction of American Airlines, and that's something that we would have heavily facilitated because it was a mountain to really get Anguilla prepared for that. And they are excellent partners. And we would have seen them grow from 2 days weekly to daily flights.
Yes.
And between you and I, because no one else is listening, I am begging them to do a twice daily later down in the year. So maybe Monday, Wednesday, Saturday or something, we can do a twice daily. If
that would be awesome.
If that would work out. Because you see the full flights going in, and then when we are in the heart of our tourism season, we want to be able to have as much connections as possible. Maybe even an overnight flight or something. But it would really be something that I would love to see them do.
That would be great.
So
I think if I look at some of the comments on some of the tourist forums, one of the things that persons complain about is the connection in Miami. Right. If they're coming from the heartland, if they're coming from other parts of the
they
US,
have to overnight.
That connection is a bit tight. So so if we can get a second flight in, something that's coming in a bit later would allow for that.
I like the sound of that. So I'm a creative. So when you started talking that, I started seeing things and thinking a little deeper. So you can imagine, like, you got 2 of those flights in November and December. You know what that does for the tourism product?
Right.
You know that a lot of times during then, things run late. The connections, the snowstorms, this, that. But as long as people don't have that hassle with traveling and they know they're going to get here and they're not going to get to St. Martin at 8 and have to overnight there and miss their boat.
Our deal with the overcrowd. I saw over the weekend some pictures in St. Martin's airport, and persons were like,
you can't lose
this
the crowd
is
over
what
and
this is why persons are so appreciative of this direct flight and the importance of this direct flight.
Half a day, because you don't have to get ready so early to go over to St. Martin, and you don't have to take over the extra time from St. Martin to Anguilla. You just come straight, and someone said it best, you just land and you can go straight to the beach. That's just how it is. And one of the things I don't want to lose the track, the bubble was something that we would have also done as well. It feels like many years ago, but the bubble is something that we would have also done as well and done successfully. And that is something that I am very proud of because it prioritized the things that meant the most to me. Safety at the time was very high. Getting our workers back out to work. And not just getting them back out to work and say, okay, well, the hotels are open, so you should find work. But actually getting the kind of occupancy that would yield to good service charge returns, high occupancy, restaurants turning over, the standalone restaurants. And so that really gave us a chance to work with the industry in a meaningful way, because one of the things that we initially thought is that maybe we can just start it out by turning our hotels into basically all-inclusives and kind of restrict them from going out, because this would make it the safest way. This is the true bubble. And it reaffirmed that an Anguillian traveler is not going to be restricted to a hotel. They want to know the people. They want to know Lowell from Sharky's. They want to see Dale from Tasties. They want to see Gwen. They want to see these people, even if they can't, hug them, because
they just want to be
they want to be able there. And that is what makes... They want to go to Jack. I mean, Jack is no longer Jack, but they want to see the people, the faces that they know. And so there was no way that we could restrict them. So what we were able to do is come, and also, not only that, they want to go on a sunset cruise with Calypso. They want to do what they want to do. Fun time.
They want to lose the crowd and find themselves.
They want to go to see Simone at Sandal Island. They want to go to Prickly Pears. I mean, that's really what our travelers do, because our travelers immerse themselves. They don't just come to Anguilla, they become Anguillians. And when you find them, they're like, oh, they're telling you what you should be doing. And I'm like, well...
yeah, it is true. Like, if you've been around the industry, you are adjacent to the industry, there are persons who come back year after year who have become family.
Yes.
And that is the Anguillian experience. It is the thing that I think we do so well that keep our numbers, that keep our revenue in the way that it has been going. And so now that we're there, how do we bridge this the traditional Anguillian traveler and expand that into new markets, new persons, and to consistently grow our tourism products? How do we transition, and not even transition, but how do we incorporate both sets? Those who are long-time visitors, you see those who have been coming, they've come as children with their parents who came.
Come here, get married.
And now they're bringing to generations of travelers. How do we continue to grow that?
So there are active ways you can do it, and sometimes things fall in your lap. With Anguilla being a safe destination it was during COVID, we have exposed ourselves to many new travelers, first-time travelers, who were literally online saying, I want to find a safe destination, and ended up in Anguilla and said, I'm coming back year after year after year after year.
I want you to put a pin right here. And I have to, for the record. Because I'm hearing that, the government restricted non-vaccinated people from moving and traveling and stuff. But I have always known, and I was told, and the Premier said it, is that we want to protect our people and we want to open our economy safely. And I think what you're saying there leads to that. Because everybody that came right during the bubble phase and after COVID, it was like, I'm going to Anguilla because it's someplace safe. I'm going to Anguilla because it's someplace safe. That's what we keep hearing.
Yeah. And it's not only that. I mean, when you go to the hotels themselves and someone just say, oh, that's the Palsec. I mean, people would just say, oh, she's the lady responsible for you getting there. She's also the lady responsible for the trouble that you took. But was it worth it? And, and then we bond over that. And everyone is saying the hassle. Because it's not the same as just jumping on a flight and coming to Anguilla and doing your own business and not having to worry about it. It was a hassle. And one of the instructions I would have given to the ATB is that we cannot go out there, but I want Anguilla top of mind. And we ended up in, I think, 10 new publications. We were featured on lists that we were never featured on or considered on before. I mean, Anguilla was everywhere. Everywhere you looked, there was someone talking about Anguilla. We were on the Lonely Planet Top 10. We were just everywhere. Forbes again, everywhere.
And that hasn't fallen off, if I might add.
No, we have not. And that's actually what was happening in New York at our Black Tie Gala event for our trailblazers, is that we were thanking the travel writers and the travel agents for keeping Anguilla top of mind, for the work that they do for Anguilla, because I think the pandemic, you have to be able, my professional mantra has always been, the obstacle is the way. And you have to see what obstacles present. And I think for travel writers, that obstacle presented the importance of travel writers, because you weren't able to go out and move as freely, so you couldn't take as many pictures. You couldn't have a media team flying to Anguilla and do any videos because they can't come, or maybe somebody isn't vaccinated, or all of these other things like that. But you have travel writers who can take an immersive experience through words that you don't have to leave your home. And they are the ones who really held Anguilla up and bolstered our...
Thank you very much.
Both said, what we are, who we are, and reminded the world that as soon as we were open, this is where we want to go. And it worked. And so I have nothing but praise and thanks to Stacy and Kenroy for seeing the vision and working beyond my expectations to ensure that Anguilla was constantly on the top of mind. And people could just Google safe places as well and find Anguilla. So that was really, really important. And we were able to recognize Jackie Gifford of Travel and Leisure, Bill Pasha, and Amelia Vanterpool-Kubish for the work that they would have done, not only throughout the pandemic, but Amelia would have shared with me that she began her work in tourism In 1992. I was born in 1993, so longer than my life.
Yeah.
Her, she dedicated her life to Anguilla and Anguilla's tourism, and it was truly an honor to spend time with her and just see what her visions, her vision is and what it was and what it would be for the future, because it's really beautiful to actually speak to her about what she envisions for the future and what she sees for Anguilla's tomorrow and where she would like to see Anguilla's tourism go. So it's from someone who would have been here from the inception and really work. It was really, I know that I just now put 17 different topics together, but that is really what tourism is. It's the art of bringing people together and sharing experiences. So that was an amazing opportunity as well.
If I could add, because I know we just running out of time, would have probably run out of time already. A conversation that keeps coming up. 365 days a year, tourism for Anguilla. We know that over the years, the hurricanes and other influences would have caused us to be taking that break. But when the acting deputy director was here, she talked about the fact that the Europeans and the Italians travel during the summer. And those are the ones that spend the 3 weeks in those extended stays. And then she talked about the wedding market and these type of things. Would government be interested in looking at any incentive to keep properties open during the summer times? What support from the ATB can be lent to these different entities to kind of put a little bit more focus on that? Because Anguillans like to close on that time, some of us, because then we take our trips, they go off to the States, some run from the hurricanes, some just stay here just in case it happens. But it's so ingrained in us now, but the pent-up demand for Anguilla keeps getting more. Do we say, you know what, boy, this is our bread and butter, we need to find a way to stay open? Or do we do something with our product then and do more festival tourism during the summer and that type of thing? What's the thinking there, if I may ask?
Well, let me take you on a journey.
Oh, wow.
Tourism is a journey. It's a journey through cultures and people.
Once there was a team who decided that we're not going to let Anguilla's name fall to the wayside in a pandemic. And we did that.
All right.
And from that, we would have also been working with American Airlines as well to get to Anguilla. We would have done joint marketing with them as well. And as you can see, the industry is right now in a shock, a good one, where the periods that we know to be our slowdown periods are actually...
They're not shoulder season no more.
Continuing.
It's full of people, full of tourists.
But still, this team did not slow down. Okay. We continue hitting the road. This team's director of tourism is always on the go. This team's chairman of tourism is always on the go.
Oh, wow.
And together, this team continues to promote Anguilla. She's
shading some words. She doesn't want to give us anything. So you're saying this is a possibility?
So now, this team would have been told by Aurora Anguilla that they're not closing.
Nice.
This year.
Nice.
This team would have also been told by 2 other major properties that they are cutting their 8-week hiatus to 4 weeks.
Oh, nice.
So I think this team is doing exactly what they should be doing.
Nice. So you see, I did not know about that, but something told me, and I tend to listen to the unction. Something told me, yeah, but that's the way we need to be going.
Right.
So our operators, our transport persons, you ain't getting 8 weeks. You ain't taking that 2 months, so that trip that you're planning to the States, change it from now because we plan to stay open.
Yeah. The properties would have told us, they need this shoulder season. So they want to take September, which is what we know to be our hurricane season, to do maintenance, to fix up anything that they have. Because
in October.
And then they open early in October.
I love the sound of that.
That sounds awesome to me for more than one reason, and at least of which is that our dollars can start dollaring again.
There we go. We get it in.
I told you I was gonna get it in today.
We get it in.
I know that we speak about dollars and dollaring, again, we're going to go back on this bridge. And we're going to tie in just some loose ends before we wrap up.
Okay.
Tourism and GST. We can't escape. GST is everywhere. It is the talk. It is the worry. It is the fear.
Yes.
And I think to be fair to persons, and I try to put myself in the position of someone who doesn't know, who doesn't know what to expect. And if you're in that position, I find the more information you have, the better you may feel about something.
Sure.
And so we speak about it, we talk about it, we educate persons. GST, and we're going to look at it in a way that we haven't before so far on the show. GST and tourism and what that means. You're now going to be having, we're going to be replacing accommodation tax with GST. So guests are going to be seeing the GST on their accommodation bills.
Right.
They're going to be seeing it on their restaurant bills. How to me, this doesn't affect the average Anguillan, but I know the average Anguillan may be concerned, well, how does this affect my service charge? Can you speak to us a bit about how GST will be integrated into our tourism product, what we can expect, what the average Anguillan can expect of GST and tourism?
Okay, so before I go to that specific question, I just want to say broadly, as I would think, I listened to your episode with Lonnie, and he would have explained the idea of what a broad-based tax is. And I like to go a little further when I speak about broad-based tax, because I do want to say that it was not the opinion of our premier, and I share that opinion, that government should be profiting on the everyday purchases of Anguillians. And what those everyday purchases would be, it would be things like purchasing your bread, purchasing, foods and fruits and such, and the things that you take to make a meal.
Yeah.
So what GST would have done really is take away the burden from all the people who are it's basically saying that government is not going to make $1 on you providing a basic meal.
Right.
And then we're going to spread the burden because, tax, how it is, on different sectors that has not been taxed previously.
Everybody is saying, yes, we need a broad-based tax. And GST is a broad-based tax. Based on what you just told me, it's this person here was taking a lot of the strain. This person here meets everybody in the middle and they carry the load.
Right.
Okay.
Because previously, all of us, when we would go and buy our spaghetti dinner, our snapper dinner, our chicken dinner, whatever it is, when we go to the store and we buy these ingredients, we were paying government.
Nobody's buying steak?
Carry on. We were paying government. And so what we would have done now is remove the tax burden on those essential items to create food, to your sanitary napkins, your infant formula.
Essential, not steak. Essential.
Your sanitary napkins, your baby formula, things like that. So these are now removed from the IGT is removed from that, and now we have then moved on to pricing this now on the different services. Because while someone may say, well, I'm not going to pay 13% on my lawyer fees. Do you need a lawyer every day, or do you need food every day?
That's right.
So now we would have broadened it and then removed some of the burden from a concentrated area. So now that brings us now to where it is, and as it relates to tourism. When it comes to tourism, any accommodation provider should be registered. So there's no threshold when it comes to tourism. Any accommodation provider will be registered.
Airbnbs as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's up to Lani and they to explain, but I think it's anything over 183 days or 82 days.
Yeah, I remember those numbers.
Right. So, and once you're over that, you are required to. So right now in Anguilla, we would have had the highest accommodation tax in the history of Anguilla consecutively. And then our total cumulative accommodation tax in the history of Anguilla for this first quarter has surpassed previous years. And the years that we try to compare it to is 2019 as before the pandemic. And then so we try to go to those good years that we know. And it has surpassed those years. And so think about all of the foods that they would have purchased, the drinks, the spa services and such that would have then gone untaxed, that we could have collect from those experiences as well. So now instead of taxing you for wanting an orange, we're now spreading the burden.
Yes.
Where everyone can now contribute to the tax base in Anguilla. So if you're at a restaurant and you get your bill, you would get your 15% service charge and also your 13% GST. So GST is not charged on service charge. This is something that we would have done in the legislation to ensure that you technically aren't double taxed. Although service charge doesn't go to the government, we know that it's considered by the consumer as a tax. So it's charged only on your total bill, and your 15% for your service charge is from your total bill, and your GST is from your total bill, but it's not total bill plus service charge multiplied by GST.
Gotcha.
So it's separate.
So you're saying because the comptroller did say when you're paying for products come July 1st, when GST is implemented, that the price that you're seeing is going to be there. What people fail to realize that the price that they have now already includes the IGT, which is 9%. The GST is 13%. So there should not be a 13% increase.
No.
You're seeing a 4%.
No. So I wanted
it's actually a 9 to 10.
9 to 10.
Yeah.
Right. What I wanted to get to, just basic, because my maths isn't the best. But if an item now costs $50, that item now includes that 9%.
Right.
So that 9% should be taken out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It should be taken out. So the $50 item should be 9% less. And then on the back end,
GST
you would see
charge.
the 13%. Is
Yes.
that what you're saying? So you
Yes.
should see a decrease
And
in base prices. Should see a decrease in base prices.
And this is where we're
And
going
then,
what's coming next.
so, yes, we get, you see, we are using this as a bridge. To clean for today is a bridge. And we started at point A, and we're going to get to point B with the Paul Sec. So, your base price should decrease. And you may see an overall increase because you're moving from that 9 to 13.
Right.
But it should not be a jump of 13% because
No.
that 9% should have been removed.
So where you're going to see the jumps of 13% is primarily in those services that ordinarily did not rely on many imports.
Okay.
So, and it would still not be, if it's done proper, a 13% increase, because if you are charging GST, it means then that you can reclaim GST. So now in that 15% that you're paying on your communication bill comes 13%, and now you can now claim it back.
Yeah, and
And
then so if you're being fair business practice, and probably need a better business bureau here, but that's another thing.
And that is the bridge that
When
we're
is
going
the
to jump
pilot
on.
coming again?
And that exactly is the bridge that
I am
we're
just
going
a
to
load of
jump on.
Paulsec. I don't know.
Royalty. But if we're wrapping it up and we're saying then, and the comptroller alluded to this as well, it's incumbent upon the consumer and those providing the services, the shopkeepers and everything, to be fair. To be fair and to be honest. It might take a little bit of accounting, but...
And accountability.
And accountability too, because if you're no longer paying 15% on your communications tax and you're paying 13%, there's a little wiggle room there down. If you're no longer paying 9% and you're not paying 13%, there's a little wiggle room up. But on that 13% that you're paying 0% on a few things that are included in what you do. So there's a little wiggle room down. And I think that's what I want folks to understand with GST's concern and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, because I hear a lot of negative things about it. But the onus is on us as consumers. The onus is on us as business owners and shopkeepers and everything else to be fair to each other. And actually just do a bit of accounting. You've had some time, do a bit of accounting, see where it stands and see where we're going, and then see how we can make this work. Because truth be told, GST is law. It's law.
And that's why it's important to use the word implemented on July 1st, because the legislation is already passed.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that we also need to be mindful of, that this legislation is already passed.
It's already passed.
Yeah.
So it's only an implementation
That's
of the
problem.
legislation.
I
that's in
think
place.
a big thing is that I personally am fearful of is people playing on the fears. Sometimes your fears exist because you don't know, and then once you know, your knowledge, you just removes the fears. You think that, that little corner over there is like a scary figure. You turn the lights on and you see it's just like
you built on the phone, you
right.
think it's a snake.
So
that happens often.
I think that is really how we learn. When we turn the lights on and we say, okay, this is what it is. And I feel like we have done a lot to communicate. We've had open sessions with the comptroller. And I think that there have been many opportunities to turn the lights on, but also equally many opportunities to keep the lights off. And I always worry if the vested interest in keeping the lights off is really to benefit on the fears.
Gotcha.
Right? Because if an informed consumer can say, we don't need actually a better business bureau to say to a consumer that this is not how it should be. Because if you know how it should be, then you yourself can say, okay, this is what it should be. So I'm keeping this in mind.
Okay.
And then you can communicate. So then you can report to government. You can, you can highlight certain things, and then say, this is what, because we are all part of the system.
Right.
The system, I'm seeing the eyes. I know that we gotta go, but like the system requires partnership. It will never be a situation, no matter how much legislation, no matter how much training we do, where government can police all of this.
Yes.
And that's where the community comes in place, where they report and then they communicate and then we work it out together. The GST bill that this administration will be introducing is a far cry from what we saw when we came in.
Yes.
And one of the things that I credit that to, it's not our genius, is because people were vocal about the things that they were fearful about.
Right.
So people had concerns about the fact that certain things were in the regulation and could just be easily changed, and they thought that it should be in the primary legislation so it can come to the House and be ventilated.
Right.
They had concerns about the role of the comptroller. These things were fixed. They had concerns about what should be exempted and what should not be exempted. They had concerns about the price of food in the supermarkets. That was addressed. They had concerns about real estate market, medical services, certain types of insurances. These were now in the regulations that we would have exempted or addressed respectively.
Okay.
And so the more persons communicate, and I would have said this in my GST debate, if you tell us your fears, we will respond. We will respond by alleviating those fears.
Gotcha.
If you say that this is something that I foresee happening, we have a responsibility to investigate it.
Right.
And many of the time, those investigations yielded changes.
Right.
So this bill really and truly should be what the IRD says GST is, growing sustainably together.
Nice.
Because now when we grow together, when we work together, we can now have a bill that fits our aspirations and addresses those fears. And I really think that GST, what it is right now, is something that addresses many of the fears of many of the people.
Totally got it.
Yeah.
Totally
I think one of the, to be, again, fair to persons, and in trying to turn the lights on, one of the fears is the consumer protection. And yes, we have a collective responsibility.
Yes.
But
you want to know there's something solid.
It helps if you have that legislation that you can fall back on. And so
and it's coming.
As we wrap up, I think that they may not be our next guest.
Yes.
I think in the following week, we're going to be looking at having persons in and speaking to us about the consumer protection legislation.
Right.
And just like we did last time, we're asking persons, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us, leave a message, and we're gonna try and incorporate. I don't know how, Ivan, unless you're going to be giving me more time, but we're gonna incorporate a section where we can get questions from the public and we can ask, because it is important that the public has access and to be able to ask questions, get answers. Like you said, I like that term. They turn the light on the issues and we shed light and make the scary parts not so scary.
All right. On that note, because if I don't talk this, stop this, you see I'm outnumbered.
Oh, I have something else I want to say.
And we'll have you back to do so.
I'm joking.
Yeah, we'll have you back to do so. But this has been great. This has been great, Paul Sek. You know you're one of my favorite people. And I'm not just saying that. You are one of my favorite people.
I know.
It's been great. My co-host, one of my favorite people as well. I enjoy this. I meet a lot of folks on the road now that say they're enjoying the program. They really appreciate it. They like that they can hear the earshot to a conversation that has meaning for them. So on that note, we will see you next time on Progress Report, updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.